So the final component of Build the Enterprise is the blueprint sheet. This is it's kind of an odd size sheet. It's not actually A1. It's a smidgen smaller, but it's still incredibly detailed. You may remember the Pocketbooks blueprints from I think back in the mid 90s. They were created by Rick Sternbach, and he went back for this project, revised what he did back then, and added incredible new detail. So this is the dorsal view of the ship. This comes with issue 1. It's you kind of forget how brilliant the ND is, because we're so familiar with it. But you look at this ship and there's so much detail, so much to see. All of those individual windows, escape pod hatches. There's just so much to look at. We annotated everything that we could. Stuff like emergency flush vents, upper sensor platform. We all know that this is where the bridge is. So our idea with this was to show the bits that you might not necessarily be familiar with. So emergency egress doors. There's just like loads of cool stuff actually scattered across the exterior of the Enterprise. So we really wanted to highlight that. We tried to differentiate this from the Pocketbooks blueprints because we didn't want to replicate what was done back then. We wanted to kind of do our own thing. So I mean the chief difference is we used a darker blue. We really wanted this to stand out. We went for like a very dark blue. I think it works really well. The white outline of the ship. The subsequent issues have, of course, individual decks. So what we did for those was to continue having the outline of the Enterprise, the exterior of the Enterprise, just as we see here. But we would overlay the deck in the specific place. So you would actually get an idea of how that deck fits into the ship. So for deck 1, we would highlight it here. Because deck 1 is a very small deck, we would then have a bigger image of it over here. For something like deck 10 that occupies the entire saucer, we would just show it in its entirety over this area. And that would be highlighted out. And the other areas of the ship would be slightly more muted, just so deck 10 popped out. So they were very cool. They were very, very detailed. The Pocketbooks blueprints are incredibly detailed. We kind of went this a step further, and that's all due to Rick, who did a wonderful job of just adding more and more technology, more and more rooms, just more and more stuff to the ship to just make it feel more alive and sort of more advanced. So we had some cool stuff to just add more to make the sheet more busy. We this is where it was constructed. This is its designation, its registration number, what class it is. We've got Rick's signature there, and Tim Earls, who also worked on Voyager. I think he helped Rick out in sort of putting these blueprints together. And it's kind of like a really cool sheet. There's a coordinate system round the edge, and with the decks we would have coordinates. We have coordinates in the magazine pages. So, for example, if we were talking about deck 1, we could highlight the coordinates for deck 1 on this sheet. So it was very easy to highlight and discover different areas of the ship. So basically the idea of this is that once you've got all 42 sheets for the individual decks and this dorsal view and the ventral view, you could pile them all up on top of each other and kind of, if you really wanted to, make it into a massive flickbook. But yeah, it'll tied in. You would end up with 100 of these sheets and a nice storage box to pop them in, and so it's a very cool big sheet, and it's kind of like proper blueprinty paper. It feels like it feels very, very authentic. So So that's Build the Enterprise. You've got your blueprint sheet, you've got your model components, and you've got your magazine. Yeah, it was a very cool product. It was a privilege to work on it. So that's it. Thanks for listening.